Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Pagan's Passionate People. I'm super excited about today's episode, where I'll be talking to a great friend of mine, Mattie, who is the director of Poppy Jasper Film Festival. We're going to be talking about her life, where she came from, how she grew up, and we're going to talk about what it is to run a film festival, and how it is to live in this career and in this industry for as long as she has, and her impact on the industry, and also her impact on me. So just remember, she holds the true things that you need to be a passionate person.
Passion, purpose, perspective, perseverance. Long ago, the four passions thrived in harmony. Then, everything changed when self-doubt, worry, fear, and societal pressures attacked. Only the passionate people, masters of the four P's, could withstand the onslaught. But when doubts loomed darkest, they rose united, led by drive, and became Pagan's passionate people. 100 challenges passed, and the passionate people emerged as champions, fueled by their inner fire. With their collective strength, they can change the world. This is Pagan's Passionate People. And here's your host, Robert Jerome Pagan.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I am, again, super excited that you are here for my first ever episode of Pagan's Passionate People. And like I said, it couldn't have been a better person saying that this is the woman who really got me into film festival directing. Like, we would not be having a queer film festival this weekend until the 31st without Mattie. So,
Oh,
how are you doing, Mattie?
I'm doing well, thank you. We're about a month from the festival, so it's a little crazy, but it's good. Deep breaths, lots of deep breaths.
I feel you, and we'll talk about Poppy in the next segment because I have so much to say about Poppy Jasper. I'm like the biggest advocate filmmaker of Poppy Jasper ever. As you know, a bunch of filmmakers submit because I'm like, you have to go to this festival. But let's talk about who is Mattie. Let's talk about who you are as a person, where you came from, nature and nurture. And so that all starts with, where did you grow up? Let's talk about that. And let's talk about your early childhood from like baby to like 12 years old. Like, how did that look, and where was that framed?
So I was actually born in San Jose, California, but grew up in Gilroy since I was 6 years old. So I've been here for a long time. Gilroy was probably, I think when we moved here, had about 8 to 12,000 people living here. So it's very, very, very small town. And I grew up out in the country. And my parents built their own house, which is still standing today. Their friend helped them, a contractor helped, but they built their own house. My dad built our television set. I had horses, goats, chickens, pigeons, rabbits, all kinds of animals around me, and I loved it. I loved being out in the country. I had a wild imagination, so I felt comfortable there. I was very shy, incredibly shy, young person. Um, I I I do remember just living to sit in a room with the headphones on and listen to music. I love music. We didn't get a lot of television because we only got one or two channels, so I didn't get a lot of television.
So when you were listening to music, what were you listening to?
I was just listening to what was there, and I remember at my babysitter's house, it was 50s music, and I just loved it and would sit in the corner and listening to music until my mom came to get me, and then I like the Osmonds, the Partridge Family, but I also grew up with a lot of Mexican music and French music, Edith Piaf, and my mom had an eclectic record collection, so I got exposed to that classical music, and then of course when I became a teenager, turned into a rocker, AC/DC.
We'll talk about the teenage years, because those are very profound on a lot of people. But how, when you were living in Gilroy in your elementary school life, how was school like? What was like? Was there particularly a teacher, maybe in elementary school or middle school, that maybe encouraged your imagination to grow, or what was the school system like when you were growing up?
It wasn't good for me because I had a lot of learning disabilities, so I didn't prosper there. And I'm going to be 58 years old this year, and so that was back in the 70s, and nobody knew what dyslexia was. Nobody knew what ADD was. And it was a painful time for me. I just felt like I was stupid. And, when they put me in a special class, this new class called Slingerland, where it was for people who weren't real smart. and then I had to stay back in the fifth grade. So I flunked the fifth grade, and that was excruciating to see all my friends go forward. And when you're in such a small town, it's so visible. So that I just I've always, and I think that what added to my being timid and being so shy is because I just felt like I was stupid. I didn't think I was very smart.
When you were growing up, did you have a lot of family growing up around you? And I would say the population was probably around, primarily Latino field workers or Hispanic field workers. What did that look like? That community aspect.
So first of all, yes, I have a lot of family here, and what I was really blessed with is that my grandmother lived in Santa Cruz. My mom is one of three girls. My aunt Margaret lived in Morgan Hill. We lived in Gilroy, and my aunt Doris, her family lived in Hollister. So if you're going to kind of see how the film festival came to be, was because this was that Hollister Morgan Hill area was my home, and because we were so close, we spent a lot of time together. So there's 10 grandkids, and we spent a lot of time together. And so we were there going to Morgan Hill or Gilroy, and it's just, so the whole place was my home. And yes, it's a very a lot of Latino friends and boyfriends and girlfriends and stuff. It was a huge influence on me. When I was growing up, Mexican was a bad word. People who were Mexican were treated really poorly. It hurt so much to hear my friends be treated like that. I had one of my best friends was half Mexican, half English, and she wouldn't tell people what her last name was. And that really bothered me, that she couldn't be who she was. And I never understood it. And it's today why we have a day devoted to Mexican films. And then we will always have that. And I just want people to say Mexico and Mexican as many times as I can get them to do it. Because I just want to change that. I really want to change that.
Yeah. So here's another. We got a little deep, because that's what we do here on Passion Pay. We get deep. But we'll go a little bit lighter for a second. Growing up in the 70s, 80s, was there a particular, like, I as a kid growing up, Saturday morning on ABC, one Saturday morning was like my thing. Was there something that you rushed to watch all the time as a child? And I know that there was like 5 channels.
Yeah, well, we had 2, and we had an antenna that we had to turn. So you had this thing you had to turn so that the antenna would turn on top of your house. And then because we had pigeons, sometimes the pigeons would be up there, and we'd have to like keep turning it to get the pigeons off. This is so country, man. But I mean, the electric company I really liked. I liked Sesame Street. But there wasn't a lot for us.
Awesome. Yeah, but one of my favorite from the 70s was H&R Huff and Puff, or Puff and Stuff.
Oh.
Witchy Poo. I think that was like on NBC or something weird. I've been watching a lot of old TV on YouTube.
Yeah,
Just, like
it's pretty fun.
they do the whole replay of a Saturday morning in 1970, and I go, oh,
Yeah.
I'll spend the day in the 1970s and watch it. Um, Now, as you moved out of elementary school and middle school, high school comes to a point where people tend to kind of start to find who they are. So let's
Mhm.
talk about what did Mattie look like in high school? Were you the crazy bad girl? Or like what were you? What did it look like in high school?
Well, it's pretty funny because, Gilroy was really small and my friend wanted to try out for cheerleader. And so I was terrified because, I'm so shy, but I wanted to be there for my friend. And there's literally 7 people tried out for cheerleading and 5 of us got it. And I blacked out in the middle of my routine and like did a cartwheel into the wall. And I still got so you can imagine the others weren't as good. So, but then it, but then it got popular to be a cheerleader, and then so I did it for 2 years, and then it wasn't my thing, and I liked hanging out. I didn't drink or smoke. But I liked hanging around out in the smoking area where the group home kids and the foster kids were. I liked them. They felt more real to me and I felt more comfortable around them. I got no trouble as a cheerleader hanging out there, but I'm like, these are my friends. I didn't like, the cliques, and I didn't like how people talked about each other. I don't like gossip. I don't like people being mean to each other. It makes me really uncomfortable. So that's where I hung out. I hung out in the smoking,
So
but I didn't
for all you
smoke.
young people out there, in high school, there used to be smoking sections where where you would go and enjoy your cigarette that you bought on campus from the vending machine. And, schools always had great books. They always, their teams were always well funded. You know, maybe those vending machines had a lot to do with it. I don't know. But that's funny because I'm very similar I do smoke now, but I was very similar in the same way. As a theater person, I always hung out with the techies who smoked in the back in the deck instead of hanging out with the other actors. You mentioned music being kind of a big part of your life, and I know that because music's a big part of the festival. It's also a big part of just Gilroy's history.
Mhm.
And every once in a while, you get to see Mattie get on stage and she'll sing for you.
No,
And
you'll never see that.
never. Uh, but what I will say is, what did that look like? What you said, rocker? How did that
Yeah.
transition in it from Donny Osmond and all that beautiful Mormon on the Bus music and to what Pat Benatar and AC/DC and
Yeah.
like
I just loved it. Yeah. And it was a big deal, like who's going to get the first record, who's the first one to get the first AC/DC album that came out. And, my dad took me to the AC/DC concert, and at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. Just, I loved it. I love rock and roll. I still am. I'm still a rocker chick. And yeah, it's always been a big part of my life. I think it's a big part of everyone's life. It's your theme music for your your memories,
your soundscape to your life.
Yeah.
So when did you, as a human, go, I love film? When did that happen? Since like you grew up with a TV that only had 2 channels and you kept
Yeah.
on turning it, when did that exploration into film and storytelling happen?
Well, I've always, and I remember when I was 10 years old when I saw like I actually looked at a movie poster and I knew I wanted to do film just because of going to the movies. We only had one theater in Gilroy and it played the same film for like 3 or 4 months. But so I would go as much as I could. But I was fascinated. I didn't want to be in the movies. I didn't want to be an actress. I knew I wanted to help make them. but I didn't understand what that meant. And when I looked at a movie poster, I'd see producer, director, cinematographer, and stuff. And I thought, well, I remember asking my mom, well, what is that? What does it mean? Like, what are the different roles mean? Because I'm trying, like, what could I do? And they didn't know. But then I looked again, and it was like all men's names. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to do that because it looks like only men get to do it. And then but I saw like wardrobe or costume design, and I thought, well, maybe I'll do that. So that's when I got into fashion and hair, and I was lucky enough that they still had the ROP program, Regional Occupational Program, where I could go to Gavilan College half day from my junior year and senior year to study cosmetology. And so that's what I focused on. And I knew I was gonna go to LA, and I wanted to work in the film industry, and I was gonna start with cosmetology, and then I got into the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, and then and study fashion. So that's yeah, it was just there because I love movies, and I loved being in the theater, and I loved I like the storytelling, And I was really lucky that my freshman year I met Carol Peters, who was the she was Carol Fahey in high school. Now she's Carol Peters, but she was the art teacher, and I took an art class with her. And my first drawing I got first prize in class, and it changed everything for me because it was the first time I had excelled at anything. I was always average, and then all of a sudden I found something that I was more above average, and so she brought that out in me, and it changed everything for me.
And so that's that teacher that we were looking for earlier. It just happened
Yeah,
later in life.
yeah.
Now you've graduated high school. How what is college? What does young 18 to 22 Mattie look like? How is that?
Um, oh, well, I should tell you that during high school, I went through a stage where because I was in cosmetology, I had a mohawk, and, I had different color hair. So like sometimes I had three different color hair, and it was how I expressed myself. I wasn't rebellious or anything. I wasn't punk. I just looked punk, and I dressed that way. And I remember being at church, and the pastor said, if you see somebody in the church that you think needs extra prayer, put your hands on them. And I think like 30 hands were all over me, and I was just like, you know what? I'm fine. I just have a mohawk. I'm actually probably doing better than you guys. And I just had this little lady come up to me and go, I pray for you every day. And I think, well, thank you, but I'm fine. I just have funny hair.
That's funny. Yeah, but you're still very fashionable. I like you when you go out, you like to dress up, and you look good. You don't like to, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big part of you.
My hairdresser keeps wanting me to dye my hair, but I'm like, I think I'm past that. It's a little old for it, but yeah, no, I love it. I love fashion. I wish I could do more with it, but yeah, I have my own style. I think I have my own style.
So as we move from adolescence into adulthood, how did that look for you? And what did what did
I know LA can be really scary for people, and I think it's scary when if you're competitive, it could be really scary. But if you really I don't know, I felt comfortable there. I also loved how open-minded people were and not as judgmental. And how you could just have more open conversations, and that it was okay to have a dream of being in the film industry because almost everyone there does. And it just was like, I don't know, I felt like I had some of the best friends I had my whole life there. just really loved it. And, you know, I went to the Fashion Institute. I studied visual presentation and space design because I thought, well, maybe I will do set design or, you know, but what I actually ended up doing was I worked on a fashion show, and I met these women that did wardrobe for magazines and television and film. And so I got with them, and that's how I started working on Star Search and doing wardrobe on Star Search. And then I did some feature films and some TV shows and magazine covers and things like that for a while. Yeah.
Star Search. Now, for everyone out there, Star Search was like American Idol. I mean, it literally, I remember, I loved Star Search. My family every day,
Yeah.
let's watch Star Search.
Well, that's how Justin Timberlake was found.
I was like, were you there when Justin was there, or when Britney was there, or because they were all on Star Search at some point.
I don't remember them because I worked with the models. We did the gowns and the photo shoots with the models. That's what we focused on. Everybody else had to bring their own costumes. So, but I used to have this little Honda CRX. And, you know, it's like it has two seats in the front and then you just have a hatchback, right? And I used to go from for fashion design to different stores and warehouses where there's like hundreds and hundreds of gowns. And I'd go in there and pick different gowns and then put them in my CRX and then take them to just the studios and the girls would pick from there. And like there's a lot of schlepping, you know.
Yeah, but I think that's everyone. When you're first starting out in the industry or just starting out in any industry, you do a lot of schlepping. It's like that's how it is.
It's true.
But I just envision like this traveling trunk because the car is so small. Like that car is so small. It just looks like a treasure trove. I know, but like as you open the back, it's just like probably like a treasure trove of all these clothes. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, what would you say was your favorite moment in the industry, our favorite feature to work on, our favorite, like what was the most iconic moment for you in the industry?
Gosh, that's hard. I really liked working with Linda Carter, you know, the first Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. She was really nice. She was so sweet. And I think it was fun to watch her work. She's a really good actress. And then I got to work with Jason Alexander from Seinfeld. Is that Jason? Jason. He played George in Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's hilarious. We did a film called I Don't Buy Kisses Anymore, and it's about this guy he's heavy in the beginning of the film, and then he loses weight and he gets the girl, and so we had to put a fat suit on him, and I had to pin it between his legs because the buttons kept popping off, so I had to do a safety pin between his legs, which is really awkward. And he said something like, I haven't had kids yet, so please be careful.
See, wardrobe, some intimate moments. Like that's what like for me, doing theater and doing professional theater and film, like some of like my most intimate moments were probably with my makeup and wardrobe people.
Yeah.
You know, because you're like the most vulnerable, especially during quick changes. You're like, I'm at the whim of you, I guess. You just take them off, whatever.
I had to tuck Edward James Olmos' shirt in. He's standing, you know, I did like, because you had to make sure everything is like straight and, you know, and it has to look, you know, like it did when they started the take, you know, continuity. That was always interesting.
Continuity is my least favorite thing in film because it is the hardest thing. It is hard.
Because I'm ADD, I was able to see everything. Mm-hmm. You know, that's one of the gifts of being ADD. You can see multiple things happening at once. And I was very good at catching that. You have a script supervisor, but I was on set for wardrobe, and I had to catch all those things too. Make sure somebody, if that's a stethoscope, that it's on the right way and things like that. So I was really good at that.
Yeah, no, that's especially like in films like Last Gasp and stuff like that. We used a lot of cigarettes, and cigarettes is hard to keep on the continuity
I
level.
just thought of something. I got to go to a party where Donald O'Connor was. Donald O'Connor, Singing in the Rain.
Yes. Yes.
He was there. Rich Little was there. And I was talking to him for a long time, and I you know said goodbye, and he's like, Mattie, you're going to be a big star one day. He's like, I'm going to watch for you.
Wow. Well, you really are a big star now.
Took a long time.
Yeah, it takes a while, and that's something I have to remind myself all the time is like it sometimes it's a long journey. It's not all there,
Yeah.
but
that always stayed with me, and I didn't understand what he was talking about, because I'm like, I'm not an actor or anything, but he was serious, and the way he looked at me, and I could just feel it, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it.
that's really special. And it's so interesting because it, it's so true. Like it's like you are like in the festival world, you are a huge star. And let's actually kind of talk about that. How did you come from, how did you turn Gilroy? And this is something that I'm really serious about. How did you turn Gilroy, Hollister, Morgan Hill, the hickiest part of the Bay Area, even though I really don't consider it the Bay Area, the South Bay, I guess, loosely. But like, how did you turn the hickiest part into probably the most thriving, up and coming film festival in the nation? Because it's rated high on Film Freeway everywhere, but like the experience is rated high, filmmakers are rated high. You get some of the best movies out there. How did that happen? How did you take your passion for film, your passion for your community, and make it grow bigger? Because I knew Poppy was around for a while, but it's bursted under your directorialship. So how did that happen? And give us the story of Poppy.
So, I mean, to be honest, I think sometimes ignorance is bliss, you only know what you know. And when I was actually a volunteer on the film festival for about 6 years, and I have a film production company, and so we were doing their promo videos and stuff, and I really wanted to do more. I just, something about it, like I loved it. I'm like, I loved it. And I did try to get them to hire me as director, and I did try and push my way in there, but they never wanted me. And then I did have a lot of ideas, and I got told, that's just not how we do things. And so I was like, okay, but I kept helping. And then they had a really bad year in 2016, where only 300 people showed up to the 2 days that they had, and the board was kind of falling apart, and people were leaving and moving away. And so we had a wrap up of the festival, and I had all these ideas, and they said, that's just not how we do things, Mattie. This is a small film festival. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna go start my own film festival in Gilroy. I go, no hard feelings. I feel like I can do this, and I'll still help you. And Bill, he's like, no, we'll still help you too. We'll help you too. And then 2 weeks later, he calls me, and we met for coffee, and he's like, we want you to be the next director of the film festival. And I said, okay, but I want to add Gilroy, Hollister, and San Juan Bautista. And he says, you can do that. And I said, I want to make a lot of changes. And he said, Mattie, you'll be the boss. And so that was the good news. The bad news was I had $1,200 and only one person left on the board. So with not a lot of, what my vision was was different from what they did. So there was nothing for me to sort of fall back on. I had no, no real, I had a couple acceptance letters and stuff, but I had to rebrand the festival. I knew I had to rebrand it. They really went with the literal meaning of the poppy jasper, which is the gemstone, and they had those colors. Even though they're beautiful on the rock, it just doesn't. I just needed I wanted something more exciting and more cinematic than literal. So I got lucky. I met Robin Shepherd, who had worked in corporate marketing, and she connected me to somebody that helped rebrand the logo and the website, and that was a lot of work. And then I knew I had to have the Granada Theater because it was just redone, and it's the most beautiful. Frank Leal, he's talk about someone who's inspired me. Frank Leal's a huge inspiration. Um, he renovated the Granada to make it look just like, something out of Las Vegas or something. It's gorgeous. And so I knew I had to have it, but it was pretty expensive, and $1,200 wasn't going to cut it. So I went and told him I wanted it anyways, and so I signed I think it was like $26,000 contract for 2 days there, and I had to borrow $5,000 from my parents, and then I just had to start raising money, and I got to the point where I raised enough to pay the second one and pay my parents back, and then by the last payment, I didn't have it, so I asked my aunt to help me, and I put in my own. We both put in $3,500 to pay the last bit off, and then I sold enough tickets to pay us back, and then at the gala could have had about 350 people, and we only had 150 people that we sold tickets to. So I was really bummed, but I had paid the bill, so I just said, okay. Just told my friends, get anyone you can to come, because I want that place full, because Randy Spenlove, who's president of Paramount Music, is coming, and I don't want that place to be empty or half empty. And so about 100 people came, and so the place was packed. We had 4 standing ovations that night. I mean, it was so great because nobody had put those two cities together. And so it was such this mix of coming together. And I didn't do a raffle prize. I didn't do a silent auction. It was all about the art of film and music and celebrating the arts. And I think that's what everyone liked. And it was such a magical moment, but it took everything I had to make it happen.
Wow. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great festival, which we're going to talk about right when we come back from this break. We have to hear from our sponsors because, that's one of those things. So we'll see you after this break.
Step into a dystopian future unlike any other with The Insan Mincer, a groundbreaking queer novel that redefines the genre. Meet Rylex and Salmont, 2 figures bound by love and destiny as they navigate the treacherous Badlands, confronting ancient tribes and facing the relentless pursuit of darkness. Ushered by mystery and devotion, they must unravel secrets and confront their own truths in a world on the brink of collapse. The Insan Mincer, a riveting exploration of love, identity, and resilience. Coming soon to paperback and Kindle, and will be available at all major bookstores and Amazon.com. Embark on this groundbreaking journey today, created by Robert Jerome Pagan.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. And like you just heard, the sponsor for this episode that's correct, The Insomancer, my new sci-fi novel, a queer sci-fi novel available on Amazon and Kindle. Get your copies now. It's free on Kindle Unlimited if you haven't read it. This is designed for dyslexics and ADHD readers who wanted to get into long-form reading and sci-fis, but just couldn't do it. So I wrote a book for them. So this is for me and you, Mattie. Hopefully it'll be a movie. So I'm here talking to Mattie, and my favorite part of this whole project that we're doing, Pagans Passionate People, is I'm only talking to people who have had a significant effect on me personally within my life. And people go, what? How do you have enough people? I'm like, there's a lot of people in my life. And I met Mattie during, 2021. Really, it was during like 2020 because it was like during all that crazy stuff. And I kind of started picking your brain and I reached out. And I had just become a filmmaker. And I was, and I came from years and years of doing theater. And I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere in the film world. And Mattie was like, no, like, keep on going. And I got into Poppy that first year and got this amazing award, which I have here, is always on my desk. But it was something about, and in our previous segment, people can see this about you. It was something about your view on making sure everyone was seen and accepted and having a place for their voice and their story to be told that inspired me in a way that I didn't even know I could possibly be inspired by. Like, I was a director, writer, producer. I never thought, hey, let me go advocate for other people. Like, let me go advocate for other filmmakers and other people in my community and build something. And I remember going to the Poppy Bash, which is the best opening film festival party across the board. All the film festivals that I've been to, including Sundance. Like, I'm sorry, Poppy's opening bash is better. And I remember sitting there and going, oh my gosh, there are so many different people in this room from so many different political backgrounds, so many different ethnic backgrounds, so many different religious backgrounds, ideological backgrounds, skin color, all here to celebrate art. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at you, and you were on stage and you were speaking, and I went, oh, I want to be this woman. Like, I know I'm not transgendered, but I want to be this woman. Like, I know who I am, but I want to be you. And I remember, I think it was after my film had just screened, and you gave me a hug and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see you on Sunday. And I went home and I went, I'm going to start a festival. I think I'm going to just do it. And I did it. And you were extremely supportive. Mattie came down to the opening, which I modeled my opening party very much after the Poppy Bash, because you impersonate the things you love, right? Impersonation is the best flattery. And so a lot of what I do within my festivals come from your ideology and what you taught me, which is make it about the art, make it about the stories, and make it about the community. And that has never, ever stirred me wrong. And that is why you are one of my passionate people and why you have inspired me so much. Now, Hollister and that area is a very interesting microcosm of area because you get everything. And your festival still make sure that it has diversity. And I know that being a director, being a festival director, and being a festival director of a queer festival, I get it all the time. But having a queer day at a film festival, it's not a small thing, especially in towns like Hollister and Gilroy and Morgan Hill, where I and my husband lived, and I, taught and directed theater there for quite some time. It's not an easy place. And so that really also inspired me because the Latino Mexican Day, one of the big things that we also have a big connection is both of our love for Luis Valdez, who is a crazy, he's just, and his wife, and like just everything, like, the whole family is amazing. El Teatro, El Campesino is amazing. But you grew up in a time where all those strikes were going on. Like, there's so much going on in that area. And to now, 30, 40 years later, say, no, we're proud of this. We're proud of our queer people. We're proud of our Latino heritage. We're proud of our migrant workers. We're proud of our women filmmakers. And that's another thing that Poppy Jasper does that inspired me a lot into finding and making sure that within my film festivals, I have advocacy and voice for female directors and female producers and female writers, because I didn't really notice, like you said, as a little girl, so many of those men, so many of those names were men. And so it also inspired me to kind of look at, what am I doing as a cis man to help my fellow humans, my fellow women, or like my fellow people in this cause. And so like Women Day really inspired me. Mattie's festival is like 2 weeks long with like amazing day. It's like, it's curated, it's crazy. You have local filmmakers from all over California. And so yeah, that's what inspired me the most. And people don't take the time very often to thank people for being an advocate for them, which you've always been an advocate for me, and for standing there for people. So just thank you, Mattie.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome.
So let's talk about how we can help the future of our industry even more. But before we do that, I want to say this year has been a year of accolades, long due accolades for you. You got the Martin Luther King Award was it Morgan Hill or Gilroy?
It's Gilroy Bethany Community Church.
Yes, and that's a big one, because I know that Luis Valdez and a lot of people have won that award that are like just so prominent and important. And it also kind of is like a shadow of, to be, this person is going to do, it's almost like a beacon of, watch this person and see how they outdo what they've just done. And then also being named Woman of the Year for the congressional district. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the 28th Assembly District. Yeah.
Wow. And as you can tell, she does not do good with praise. She kind of clams up. That shy elementary schooler comes out. But how does that feel for you now, knowing that, because it's a hard road, and some days that you don't feel like you're accomplishing things, and some days you don't feel seeing things. But how does it feel now to know that, Singing in the Rain was right? You are going to be a star. You are going to help people. Like, how does that feel?
It's weird because, I think why the reason I can get up in front and talk in front of people is because I'm not talking about myself. When you have a purpose that's bigger and outside of yourself, that's easier for me to talk. But you start, I was terrified when I got the Visionary Award for from Bethany Church for Martin Luther King Day. I was just terrified because I had to talk about myself, and then I was like, I don't want to talk about myself. And then I have to talk after Luis Valdez talks about me. I'm like, it was just, I don't really like having to do that, because I'm not comfortable, and I'm still not comfortable, and I still I haven't really absorbed what I've done, because it's too hard for me to really absorb it. I still feel like I have a lot to do. I still feel like I haven't done enough, I'm constantly, I'm an artist. So, you constantly looking outside the box, and you're constantly pushing the envelope, and you're constantly, is this actually what we should be doing, or how we should be doing it? And am I doing the right thing? And so I'm always doing that. So sometimes it's hard to see the success, just because I keep seeing what else I need to do. But yeah, it's nice to get the accolades. It's just that it's uncomfortable for me. I like it when the film festival gets the accolade. Then I'm like, yeah, because that's what it's all about. And it takes a team to put the festival on. It's not just me,
Yeah, yes. But I do see, I've been to the festival. I have seen you not sleep for 8 days and go around and like live out of your car and like have your fashionable outfits to make sure that you look good in pictures. But like I've seen it. I've seen it. So there's no hiding it. But what do you see as the future for impact? Like, if there was one thing that you could tell anyone, like that young girl or that young boy or that young them who is sitting at home and they're thinking, I want to be like this woman. I want to make an impact on the world. What do you think is the golden rule? What has always kept you aligned to be true to yourself?
I think one of the biggest things is show up. Show up, because that's when things happen. And there's so many times, like I'd go up to San Francisco because I needed to expand the audience, and I'd go to a mixer where I didn't know anyone, and I just, as the little girl who flunked 5th grade, and just not feeling like not feeling confident, but I would stay there. And I would tell myself, you have to meet one person and then you can leave. And that was always the best thing I could do. And I'd always meet somebody that would change something. And so you can't build a film festival sitting at home. You have to get out there, and you have to step outside that comfort zone. And I do it every day. And, I have to email people in the industry that I'm just terrified. I'm like, what do I say? Did I say the right thing? I just sent an email last night to somebody, and the whole night I was beating myself up, like, oh, you should have probably taken more time with that, like all those little things, but you got to do it, and you start feeling like that you have they're growing pains. It's painful. But you're growing and you're changing, and certain things start getting easier. That you don't have to work as hard, but it's tough. It's a tough position to be in, because you're the person that everyone looks to, and you're the person that all the criticism goes to. So it can be hard at times, but at the same time, like I said, if you have a purpose that's outside of yourself, it's going to be a lot easier, because you're not doing it for you. It's not about me. I'm not going to that mixer to talk about me. I'm going to the mixer to talk about the film festival. And that's what gets me up on the stage, and that's what gets me talking, and makes it easier. I remember my first speech I gave at the Gilroy Rotary, and these are all people I knew really well. I blacked out, and I felt like my whole body was on fire, and I don't even remember what I said. They told me I did a good job, but that was my first time. But the more I did it, then I started seeing people, but they were blurry. Then it started getting a little easier, but it just takes time, and it's stepping outside that comfort zone and just believing in whatever it is you believe in.
Wow. I couldn't agree more. Like that is the truth. And I have taken that advice to heart. Like building both the Merced Queer Film Festival and the International Queer Film Festival now, you have to get out there. Like and I'm terrified how, like I was writing to some people from certain queer Netflix shows, because, we're a big queer film festival, and, it's scary. It's not, and for me and you, who have suffered from dyslexia and ADHD and have been told you can't write all your life, or that's not how you spell that. Like it becomes like I definitely can align and recognize that. Now, Poppy is in how many weeks? Let's talk about what is maybe your favorite thing happening this year, how people can get I know you're like, Robert, you can't do that to me. There's like 9 different things happening, and then people get sad and embarrassed that I didn't say about that. She's going to say one thing, guys, and believe me, she loves you all. But and then how can people get tickets? Because I know that for our international film festival right now, we're doing online quarterlies, and then we have our big festival in Las Vegas. But your guys is once a year in person. If you've never been to an in-person film festival, this is the best like if you go to one in-person film festival all year, I would go to Poppy, because of the connections and everything that you have said, but also just the landscape of film. You get to see so much different, so variety and just craziness. I think my favorite from the year that I won was an Australian movie about Aborigine music, and it was so good. So
Gravel Road.
oh yeah, yeah.
And it's still playing. It's still playing. They're on tour, and the band from that film is on tour. Yeah, it's
Amazing.
so cool.
That was really good. And then the same year, I think, was the movie from the lady from Buffy, and that was really, really good.
Oh yeah, yeah. Juliet Landau.
Juliet Landau.
Yeah, and it's on Amazon now.
Yeah. See, and that's the same thing with the cool thing about our festivals is we're small, but a lot of our stuff gets picked up. Like this year, Glitter and Doom was our winner of the year, and now it's like all over the place. Like it's the Indigo Girl musical was the one that we had as our film of the year for MQFF, and then we've had some crazy. But how can they do it? What should we expect? What's the big event other than the Poppy Bash that everyone needs to go to?
So it's an 8-day film festival. We have 74 events in those 8 days in 4 cities in 18 venues. So it's everything from, film screenings to mimosa brunches to hikes, which a lot of the filmmakers are excited about the hikes. It's just a lot to see, a lot to do. I think I'm most excited about meeting the filmmakers. You spend so much time watching the films and then sending the acceptance letters and then talking to them. And so it's one of my favorite things. I think we have over 400 filmmakers coming this year. A lot of films have, 6 or 8 people from the film coming, which is really exciting. This year we have 270 films from 30 countries. It's really, I added a few more spots than I anticipated doing. But it's okay. It'll be good. It's hard to say no. It's hard. And just so many films from people in the industry, which is interesting. People who work in the industry are now making their own films, and so they're very savvy with filmmaking, and that's exciting. But we have a lot of great films from local filmmakers too, and that's always a fun day too, because I have films from Northern California in Morgan Hill and films from Southern California in Gilroy, and then we come together at the end of the night, and there's a film festival formula is going to be coming and talking about festival strategy.
Yeah, I love Ian. Ian and his wife. They just got married last year, right?
Yeah, they did. They did.
They're an awesome group too. And that's another thing. That's what I was talking about when I was talking about Mattie and her amazing ability to make connections. Because I remember going to the film festival and I was so scared. It was my first ever in-person film festival as a filmmaker. Like I had went to Sundance and I had went to like Tribeca as an actor, and as an actor, you're just like, yeah, look at me, I'm an actor. Yeah, I was in that. I was, but as a filmmaker, I almost feel like you're more judged because you're like, this is my baby. Like the actor can just blame everything on me. Like they can just say, oh no, they cut that bad. Oh no, he was just a bad director. But like everything kind of lands on you. And so like, it was very nerve wracking. It was also it was the first film festival after shutdown, realistically, because COVID, and so it was like almost, I didn't know what to expect, but it was the best experience of my life. And Giovanni and I just loved every single moment of it. And like I said, this is my pride and joy. I have so many different, I have won over 300 film festivals now and have been to a bunch of them. And that award will always be the one that I keep next to me, even if I get an Oscar, because it meant the most. It wasn't the first, but it was the one that really just kind of like solidified it. It was like, you're doing something different. You're doing something right. And that's actually something that, since we're both festival directors, I would like to ask you something as a festival director. MQFF and IQFF have gotten like almost 1,500 submissions. I know that MQF, I know that Poppy gets almost like 1,000 to 1,200. And me and you are both the type of people who are like, we can show more. We can like, because at MQFF we showed 170 our first year and like 180 our next year. So like, how, when you're looking, what do you tell filmmakers? Because getting rejected from a film festival is not, it's not easy either, and it's not easy for the festival directors either. But like, what do you say to the filmmakers who may have not made it this year or last year? What do you say to those filmmakers? Because I know that they probably write you, because they write me.
Yeah, I always well, when we send our letter, we always tell them, you know, just because you're not, it's not that you're rejected, it's you're not selected. So some films have not been selected because we can't fit them in. I have so many films that, like, it was heartbreaking because I wanted them, and I shoved a, but I have a big film festival this year because I couldn't say no, and I know how much those laurels mean to filmmakers. I know how it changes things, and I know we're not one of the biggest film festivals, but I know that it can help them get into the bigger ones, you know, when they get the laurels from us, because it does make a difference. So I know how important it is. Certainly, yeah, there's certainly tons of films that we just can't fit in the festival. And this year, our local filmmaker showcase, we got the most we've ever gotten, and it was just hell.
Great thing too.
It's a great thing, but it's been really hard. And I will say, some of the films we didn't accept because they're so long, and it's this year is, it's kind of a problem. And some of the films we have this year in the festival are really long. They're like over an hour and a half. That's too long. It's hard on a festival, and some of them it was because of that. Yeah. But I am not the kind of person that tells people what kind of, because to me, there's no formula of making a film. You know, I like to teach people, you know, like teach someone, don't teach someone how to draw a bird, teach them they can draw a bird, you know, and because everybody's creative process is different. And there's so many people who break rules. We have a couple films from Iran that have broken film rules, and have these amazing films. Two of them are all done in one shot, and it's done in a way, and then the one of them, it's one shot, and then the camera moves up and it goes all the way back, and you go outside, and then you see the characters come around the corner. It's like, it's mind-boggling. It's so it's like, if you say, here's the kind of film you need to make, and this is, you know, girl meets guy, page 10, blah blah, whatever. It's not, yeah.
Yeah,
there's no formula.
My film broke so many rules that, like, I definitely know that. And the other thing is like, I always talk about time too to people. I'm the type of filmmaker who makes really long movies. Like, I think, Mattie, you're like, yes, Robert, I watched your 2.5-hour epic. I could not play it. I wish I could, Robert, but I cannot play 2.5 hours of the Robert show. No, but like, no, I totally understand that. And I always tell filmmakers that when you're making a feature, know that is going to be harder to get into any film festival, period, because a lot of it comes down to time. A lot of it comes down to, you know, how much time do we have to rent that theater, and how many movies can we fit into that block. So I definitely understand that. And I also think that one of the cool things about your festival in general is it's a place where people go multiple times. Like, filmmakers have been there, you know, like I was there one year, I was there the following year. Like, you have multiple films, you can grow there, and sometimes you don't go in, but then the next year you do, and like, so it really builds like this family and a community of filmmakers. And so, and I still talk to a lot of the filmmakers that I met the first year, Grand Bolero. I still talk to all those guys, and like I really, yeah, it's just a great festival. I hope everyone takes the chance to go out and support it. It's also a beautiful part of California that people don't tend to know. It has a beautiful national monument around it called the Pinnacles. So like, go out, enjoy the area. But yeah, is there anything else that you would love to add, Mattie? Because I think this might be the most in-depth Mattie interview ever. People are going to learn so much about you that I'm like, yeah, finally got it. You opened your shell. So like, but is there anything else you want to add to the world?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I think we hit a lot of points.
Yeah, we did. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching. Remember, IQFF starts tomorrow, the 15th of March, and runs through the 31st. All films are completely free to watch on YouTube, our Jerome P. Create. Get your ballot. You can vote on those as well. And next week, we're going to have Pagan's Passionate People with Dawn Monique Williams. She is a professional theater director who's worked at Oregon Shakespeare Festival and across the nation at many other places. And she knew me when I was a little boy in high school. And we were in a musical together and a couple other things. And she taught me Shakespeare. So we will be talking to her next week. Thank you so much, Mattie. I cannot wait for Poppy. I know that Dana is going and a bunch of my friends are going. I'm stuck here in Vegas. So unfortunately, I can't be going. But hopefully I'll see you soon when I come to visit Hollister. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.